I manifested a specific person and I ended up regretting it. Let's talk about how I did it, why I regret it, and what I learned from it so you can learn from it too. Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Lorena. I'm a somatic self-concept and manifestation coach, and I support women to shift their self-concept, embody a new state of being sustainably through a uniquely holistic and emotionally integrated approach so that you can manifest anything that you desire in life. We're essentially bridging the gap between who you currently are or perceive yourself to be and who you desire to be or become, because you truly do not have to settle for any less than exactly what you desire. So this is a little story time. This is a personal story, of course, but I will connect this to lessons I learned. I will give you guidance at the end, and I will also share some examples from my clients, because this concept of manifesting a specific person is very nuanced. It doesn't look the same for everyone. There is no one size fits all. Humans are social creatures. The desire for love is pretty much universal. It might not show up for everyone in the same way, but it's not bad to have needs, and it's also not bad to have these needs want to be met by another person or want to be met specifically romantically. Wanting to be in a fulfilling relationship is a beautiful desire, and don't let anybody tell you that you have to be hyper independent and that you shouldn't want this or need this. I said, everyone's situation is different. I have helped clients manifest a specific person where it was the right thing for them. I have also helped clients release their attachment to a specific person and open themselves up to the love that they actually desired. But let me tell you why I chose someone specific to manifest, why I did this, and that will also already give you an insight as to why I ended up regretting it. Because let me tell you, your motivation is really important. And it's also important to know that at the time when I chose to manifest this specific person, my backstory in relationships was a pattern of never being chosen, never being committed to, always being second choice, second best, an option. Basically, it externally looked like I would meet somebody, I would connect with them, we would date for a while, and then I was replaced. And I use the word replaced because that's how it felt, but also they basically ended up committing to somebody else instead of me, and it reaffirmed a belief that I already had about myself, which was that I was second best and that I wasn't good enough. So there was always someone or something else in the picture. Now, when I decided to actually consciously manifest this specific person, I was ready to heal that pattern. I was like, no more. I am not going to be the one anymore that is dropped and abandoned, and no. I was very determined. And I chose this person because I had met them and we had a really great connection, and it was this instant spark. They were very loving to me, they were very interested in me, but honestly it was a situation of rose-tinted glasses. I did not really think this through. I prioritized the connection and the chemistry because that was very real, and the love that came out of this relationship was also very, very real. But I prioritized all of this above other things that are nowadays very, very important for me in a relationship. Now I ask myself questions like, would I want this to be the father of my children? Is he successful? Is he confident? Does he want a committed relationship? Do we have the same values, the same vision for the future? All of these things I did not ask myself when I chose to manifest this person. I didn't think about it because I felt the depth of that connection, and I was like, I'm going to make it happen and the rest can change. Now, the process of manifesting this relationship was tough. We weren't in a relationship, it was very casual, it was very much a friends with benefits situation, very much on and off, and persisting in something that is not yet reality is hard. If you're struggling with this, if you're struggling to persist, It makes sense because it's difficult, especially because you can very quickly bypass your true feelings, your true beliefs, your true emotions, which actually just keeps you in a cycle because then you're in resistance. And before I had the method that I teach my clients now and that I now have used to manifest the things that I actually really deeply desire into my life, persistence was very hard because I didn't have the foundation. I hadn't shifted my self-concept in a sustainable way yet. And so it was tough, but I was persistent. I was very persistent and it worked. We ended up together and I was very happy for about 3 seconds. Why was I only happy for about 3 seconds? Well, firstly, I was constantly in fear. I was in fear of losing it again. I was waiting for the shoe to drop. I was still looking for this relationship to validate me and to prove my worth to me. And I felt like it could go anytime. Because yeah, I had got the end result I wanted, but I hadn't actually changed my self-concept in the context of relationships fully. There had been improvements. I had started feeling more worthy, but it was nowhere near where it should have been. And if it had been at that stage, I never would have chosen to manifest this person. The other thing was that the old patterns that had been going on before in my love life and also in this connection specifically, and I'm talking about patterns of not being chosen, not being committed to, they were still showing up. They were just starting to show up in a different way now. Like I had the manifestation, I was with this person, but now the patterns were showing up in a way that was a lot more subtle. It was still there. The patterns weren't broken. It was just that externally it looked differently. And for a moment, I got this experience of validation and success of being in that connection and having manifested this. And the more this went on, of course, the doubts started creeping in because I never approached this from a sustainable place in the first place. I never did this because I didn't know how at the time. I highly encourage you to check out the links in the description box below because you can find a bunch of free resources there, whether you are just getting started on your self-concept and manifestation journey, or whether you've been at it for a while and you're looking for something different. Because I have developed a method that is very unique to how I teach conscious manifestation, and I want to help you make your desires a reality. And that's what I see a lot of people do as well. They don't really know how. They just use these techniques and it might actually get them what they want, but the fulfillment is still lacking, or they can't sustain it, or they still feel the way they felt before, or the same patterns are still showing up, but in a different way. It's a very common experience and it doesn't have to be this way, luckily. And I manifested this person the same way that most people will teach you to manifest. I visualized diligently every night. I meditated on the desire every day. I practiced changing my mindset around this connection. And on a surface level, that worked. It worked because from a conscious perspective, I felt differently and I thought differently. And obviously the manifestation came in. But subconsciously, I was still feeling very differently. It wasn't fully embodied. I was still projecting out the very things that I didn't want. And so despite the external manifestation being there, it was like on a shaky foundation. It was never going to work out this way. So none of the techniques that I used had actually changed my self-concept in a lasting way. I hadn't actually had a deep transformation in my system and in my self-identity. It was very surface level. I was still seeking something and it was full of highs and lows. That was the outcome. Then there came the wake-up call. And to protect that person, I'm not going to go into circumstances. Something happened that made me realize what I had been doing, that I had been manifesting this relationship to validate something in me, to validate my worth, to show myself and prove to myself that I could even do it. I had manifested this person because they were simply the one that was available. I didn't really think it through. I didn't really get clear on what I actually wanted in a relationship. I hadn't truly done the work on my self-concept, at least not on a deep enough level. Just like I said before, it was very surface level changes, and so I got surface level results. And I can tell you at the time, if you had asked me consciously, I would have said that's not true. I would have said, no, I really want this specific person. They're the one for me. Like, I love them. They're right for me. I would have said, no, I do feel worthy, because I really thought I did. Now, when it all blew up, and I had this wake-up call. Could I have manifested this person again? Yeah. Could I have used the same techniques again? Yeah. But it would have kept me in this awful, exhausting cycle that so many people find themselves in just to maintain it. Why do I regret it? Obviously, I learned a lot from it as well, so there's not only regret, but I will get to that too. I will get to the lessons. So I regret it because it delayed my true desires. I spent months manifesting this person, and I spent years in this connection, which over time deteriorated, so I wasn't happy in it anymore. But my true desire of being in a healthy, committed, loving relationship that's mutually beneficial and fulfilling, that wasn't met by that connection, despite having manifested that at first or on the surface. And you know what? Once I actually developed the method that I teach now, and that came about through years of training and years of work, by the way, that didn't happen overnight. And the reason I now teach it and help you with that, and why I have created my coaching program Recreate Yourself, is so that it doesn't have to take you years. And since I've done that, since I've actually done the deeper work on my self-concept, things have started shifting so massively. All of my relationships have changed. All of them, not just romantically, also my friendships have changed, my relationship to my family has changed, everything has changed through that. And I did not have to force anything to happen, I did not have to seek out relationships, they came to me. Because now the changes in my self-concept had not been surface level anymore, they had been deeply integrated in my psyche. But because it took me so long, I wasted years. I delayed what I really wanted for years. The second reason why I regret it is also because it kept me stuck in a loop. It was like Groundhog Day. And this is what I hear from a lot of people as well, that they go back and forth in their state and they feel like, I got it, because they have all the information and they just need help applying it, but then they go back and patterns repeat. It was exhausting being in this because I constantly had to manage my state and my emotions all of the time. I wasn't fully present and I wasn't fully enjoying my life. You don't have to go back and forth. It doesn't have to be exhausting. There is a way to shift things for good. And the other reason I regret it is simply because it caused me a lot of pain. Not only whilst I was in it, but it also took me a long time to heal the trauma from that relationship, because there's a lot of that went down. I was struggling with the decisions I made, with how I had betrayed myself, with the choices I had made, with the actions and behaviors, with how I had shown up, with my old self-concept, and it took me a long time. And for me, coaching at the time was really invaluable to heal from this, which is why the method that I teach now as well has a big emphasis on healing the patterns from the past, be that the things from your childhood or teenage years, or also just from a past relationship, because you cannot neglect this. It has a big impact on what you're choosing for the future and what you're able to manifest for the future. I spoke about this in more detail last week in last week's video. That being said, there were some lessons. Let's talk about the lessons. Obviously, every experience teaches you something, even the negative ones, and sometimes they teach you more than the positive ones. However, I could have also learned the same lessons a different way. I'm a firm believer that we don't only learn through pain, we also learn a lot through love and joy and pleasure. And people so often come to me with this pain from trying to manifest a connection, a specific connection, or pain from a connection that they used to try and manifest or that they've come out of. Like I said before, not everyone's story is the same. Your story might be vastly different. You might not even want to manifest somebody specific. You might already be aware of the things that need to change in your self-concept, and maybe that's why you're here, because you want to do the work to fully change it once and for all. Or maybe you are really clear on, yeah, you want to manifest a specific person and you know it's for the right reasons. Who knows? Everybody's different, but everything teaches you something, even if it teaches you what not to do in the future. Lesson number one is know your why. Know why you are wanting to manifest something, why you are wanting a certain experience. And I'm not talking about your conscious answer here. This is why it's very important to get familiar with your subconscious. One of the first things I do with my clients is to create a really clear vision. And more often than not, that vision looks completely different consciously to what is actually going on subconsciously, because you can consciously tell yourself a lot of things that don't actually feel true to you, or that aren't actually true for you. And I think this is where coaching is extra beneficial, because your ego will trick you. Your ego will be stubborn and it won't always let the truth come to the surface. And so having a skilled coach is really, really vital. And I pride myself in my work so much because, firstly, I believe in you and I support you in anything that you truly desire, anything that you manifest. But I will also not hold back from telling you the truth when we go into your psyche and I notice certain patterns. I never dictate anything, but I will point out the things I see. Having someone that does that for you is very, very important, because otherwise your mind will play tricks on you, and that's when you may keep yourself stuck in a cycle. Lesson number 2, prioritize your self-concept, not your desire. People usually come to me for specific desires, and then eventually they realize that it's about more than just the thing that they wanted. And sometimes people come to me when they have already realized this is about more than the thing I want. I know my self-concept is most important, but as I already touched on, in order to change your self-concept, you need to do a lot more than simply get clear on what it is or who it is you want to be and feel into that, or even act on that, because you will need to dismantle and shift the beliefs and patterns right at the root. It's basically a full-blown ego death, which is what makes it so hard, which is what makes it so difficult. That's why I help people with that. That's why I help you with that, because you want to experience this full rebirth in your self-identity. Lesson number 3 is, when you try to force something, you might get it, but you also might regret it. Be careful what you wish for. Just because somebody has manifested something doesn't mean they're happy with it long term. Lesson number 4 is, don't do it alone and don't play it safe. You know, the reason why I actually manifested this person was because it was the safe option. Unconsciously, it was an easy way for me to avoid digging deeper. Just like I delayed my true desire so much, like I wasted so much time in this, if I had had the right support at the time, I would have gotten to where I've gotten now in not even half the time. You can make happen in a couple years what would otherwise take you a decade. You can make happen in a few months what would otherwise take you a couple of years. Whatever your journey is, whatever your path is, whatever your desire is, you can manifest somebody specific if you like, because maybe that is the right thing for you. I don't know without knowing you, without working with you. But the one thing that I will say is that whatever decision you make, do not settle. This journey is about you and you alone. It's about your self-concept and the impact that that has on your creations, on your manifestations. Your self-concept is what gets mirrored back to you. No matter how well you visualize and how your manifestation comes in, it's not just your imagination that creates things for you. Your self-concept will determine how that manifestation and that imagined reality actually plays out. Do yourself a favor, don't waste any time, do it right from the beginning. Go all in, don't play it safe, be honest with yourself. Do the deeper work that's required for lasting changes, and stop keeping yourself in a cycle. You're just delaying the inevitable. You are gonna thank yourself when you go all in. Let me know what your main takeaway from this video is. I would love to hear your experience, and I'll see you in next week's video.